Cambridge Insider Podcast time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of the Cambridge Insider Podcast. As always, my co-host out of Philadelphia. I don't think you've moved or you're maybe taking a sabbatical somewhere, but out of Philadelphia, Leanna, how are you?
I'm glad you remembered where I live. We've only been doing this for a couple months now, but I'm doing good. Philadelphia's good, though our mask mandate did just go back in place in Philadelphia. So we are masking back up, but we're still good here. It's a sunny day. I'm doing well. We've got students arriving. It's arrival season, as you say. So we're good. And I'm excited about what we're talking about today because it's a really important topic for our students and for our schools. But how are you doing, Stephen?
Also doing well, thank you. Not at all panicked about masking. I think it's a great opportunity for us to prevent what happened last year. And that's the way I'm seeing it. That's the way I'm communicating it to schools, to students, to agents, is to say, yes, we're masking up in certain circumstances, but it's really just a prevention thing. We've got high rates of vaccination. Vaccination rates are jumping even more, which is awesome to see. So no panic. I think that's the message coming from myself. Leanna, why are you're excited about the episode? Do you want to intro a little bit? I know that executive producer Dean, who's a great researcher, sent us this awesome article, and with our students arriving in the country as we speak, we thought this would be a good article to sort of reference and chat a little bit about. Do you want to introduce it to us?
Yeah, so the article we're talking about is titled How to Make Friends, a Guide for International Students. So I think the students listening to this episode will be really excited that this is the topic for the day. The article sort of moves through, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different steps to take that can help you to make friends and sort of build a community once you've arrived here and you're going to your new school. So the first one is to get chatty. Second one is to join online groups, such as Facebook groups, having a good neighbor attitude, attending events, getting outside of your comfort zone, putting yourself in communal areas, striking up conversations, volunteering, and signing up for a mentoring program. So we can speak to a couple of these and sort of build upon these ideas, but I completely agree with all of these steps. I think they can all help you to find your people at your school, find your people in your community. And I think it's a mindset coming into this, being open to these steps and knowing that, okay, I'm going to have to get out of my comfort zone once I get here. And, that's how you create a great foundation to start the year and to keep building upon as you go throughout the school year.
Absolutely. I think this is so important. And yes, it's directed towards students, but I think schools really need to be listening up, because how often, do we get, I wouldn't say complaints, but just communication from schools saying, oh, this student is so, quiet. They haven't integrated. What can we do? How can we help them along? This article and what we'll be talking about speaks directly to that. Students struggling emotionally, struggling to fit in, struggling with, homesickness and that idea of culture shock. Some of these steps are great opportunities for you to overcome those challenges. I for many years, as some of the listeners may know, I travel to China and I do our in-country orientation. And one of the examples that I use when I'm there, to talk about how important it is to integrate into your community is, I'm an immigrant. I moved here from South Africa, and it's tough. You come here and you're excited about it, but eventually that excitement sort of wears off, and the reality of you're by yourself starts to dawn on you. And the turning point for me, without a doubt, was on a personal level when I joined a community soccer team. I was able to join a community soccer team, and that allowed me to make friends on a very easygoing sort of platform, if you will. And through that, got to meet other people. Not only was I being active and enjoying something that was presented by the community, but I was able to make friends and eventually integrated. And suddenly that idea of culture shock and that homesickness really sort of went away a little bit, which was awesome. So, that's just one example, but I do want to emphasize everybody listening, it's such an important thing for you to integrate, to make friends, to become part of that community. Leanna, what for you is, you're going through that list. You're obviously an SDM. You work closely with students. You see this in action every day. What for you out of those are sort of the highlights? Which ones do you think are the most important, I suppose?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to add that I've moved around quite a lot too, and soccer is completely the way that I meet people in every different city I live in as well. So I just want to emphasize there that, take a look at your interests and say to yourself, what kind of people do I want to meet and what am I interested in? And then find those clubs or organizations or sports that are going to lend to that. So I love that point that you made. And I think that really when we talk about extracurriculars and getting involved, all of those kind of relate back to a few of the steps that are listed in this article. And that's getting out of your comfort zone, putting yourself in communal areas, having a good neighbor attitude, getting chatty, attending events. All of those can be related to getting involved in your extracurriculars at your school. So, you can get chatty with people there, you can meet friends there, you're pushing yourself, you're getting out of your comfort zone, you're trying something new. And just being in those communal areas, as the article states, is going to expose you to new people, expose you to new ideas. Culturally and socially, you're going to start picking up on different things about what it's like to be a student at your new school. So I think that the extracurriculars, sports, and organizations and clubs really tick a lot of the boxes in this article.
And I will say, and I agree with you 100%. I will say it's tough to make friends. It's tough to just strike up a conversation. The majority of people, I don't think, find that an easy and exciting thing to do necessarily. The idea that I like about extracurriculars specifically, and this is important, I think, for schools and administrators to listen to. When you do get students that are arriving on the shores, there's a communication gap, there's a cultural gap. Extracurriculars gives you that shared experience, that shared platform of this is a no expectation. We're all just doing a common thing. Whether we talk about it or not, whether we want to be friends or not, it's just a very easy platform to be on, which is what I like about extracurriculars. So, it does the hard yards for you in terms of that striking up that opening conversation, walking to somebody in a cafeteria and saying, "Hi, my name is Stephen." That takes a lot of guts. It's difficult to do. So, you're on a soccer team and suddenly you're passing the ball to somebody, or you're on a chess team and you have a great chess match against somebody. That allows you that opportunity to start that conversation on a way easier, less pressurized sort of platform, if you will.
Totally. I think making friends is a super overwhelming idea, and a lot of us don't know where to start. And I could not agree more that once you just involve yourself in something that you're interested in, something that, you could be good at it or you could be just starting out, but there are instructions from the coach or there's instructions from the organization's leader, and, you're all in this community doing the same thing together. You no longer need to worry about the language barrier or sometimes it feels really overwhelming when you get to a new place and you're like, I have all these hours in a day and I don't know anyone or I don't know where to go and what is there to do? All of a sudden you join this club or activity and you have a routine, you have a schedule, you have expectations that you're meeting from your coach or whoever that person may be. And it really just helps to ease the burden of the overwhelm that comes with moving to a foreign place and not knowing anyone. So I couldn't encourage our students enough to get involved and really push yourself from the beginning to do those things, because if you create that mindset and you come in with the mindset that you're going to push yourself out of your comfort zone to get involved from the beginning, all of a sudden now you're forming habits and you're going to keep doing that over and over again because you're going to feel the reward that comes from getting out of your comfort zone, getting involved, and then before you know it, you're going to keep doing those things that get you the new friends, that get you the new skills, and that make you feel more comfortable at your school and in your community. So start right off the bat when you arrive. Just go in with it saying to yourself, if it feels scary, then I'm going for it.
Well said. Well said. I love how, I love the idea of you need to almost as a student make this decision before you've left your home country. There are going to be challenges. I might feel isolated, but I need to go in with the mindset of every opportunity there is to connect with people, I'm going to take that opportunity. And it doesn't mean you'll be friends with everybody. It doesn't mean you'll have 100 friends, but it is just about creating those opportunities for a student's language development. Also, it's so important, because the more they connect, the more they get into those everyday conversations that aren't scripted in a class. And those are really the conversations that, as an international student, you want to start developing, because those are the ones that'll see you be successful moving forward. I do just want to emphasize two things for the schools, and I keep going back sort of towards the school angle, but I think it's so important because we often get schools that communicate to us about these challenges. I think, schools, it is very important for teachers, for counselors, for international student directors to make these opportunities very visible and make students, international students, very aware of them. Something like extracurricular activities, or something like you have to have the mindset to communicate, or volunteering opportunities, may seem obvious to an American student in an American school system. The school system in Southeast Asia, specifically in China, but all across Southeast Asia, is very, very different. It isn't as socially directed, I would say, for lack of a better term, as it is in the US. It's very much academically driven. I do my work, I go home, I do my homework, I come the next day. That's how the education system is there. So it's really important for schools to be just overly, emphasize these opportunities that students have, and never assume that, the student should have known about that volunteering opportunity, or, the student had these opportunities. Oftentimes, students have so much else going on that they won't even see these opportunities to connect, and they possibly won't know the impact that connection with their community can have long term. So that's point number one that I think is important for schools. Point number two, which I found, and Leanna, maybe you can comment a little bit on this because you do work very closely with schools, but I found schools that have a mentorship program where they pair an international student with maybe a bit more of a senior student, or a talkative, outgoing student that's a local student or a domestic student. I found those programs to be really very useful and helping our international students to, again, just get that upper hand in terms of getting into the community. They have this experienced hand, the student, showing them around, helping them to make friends, helping them with communication. And again, it takes away a little bit of that pressure. So I'd love your thoughts on a mentorship idea for schools.
Yeah, I can speak to this because one of the schools that I work with that's in Delaware does have a mentorship program. They call it their buddy system. And for my students who just arrived last week, they've already been in touch with their buddy at school. So their buddy has reached out via email and introduced themselves and said, I can't wait to see you on the first day of school. And they gave some background about themselves. And I think most of these students are seniors, and the students coming in are sophomores. So it's a great connection to have, before the first day of school, they already know someone, they already have someone to look out for and meet on the first day of school. So I think those mentorship and buddy systems are awesome. They give our student another layer of support, which is great. And then, on the same note as these mentorship programs and volunteer opportunities that the article mentions, I just want to highlight that at Cambridge Network, we have these opportunities for students too. So if you find yourself needing those volunteer opportunities or needing a mentorship opportunity and you're not finding it at your school, go to your student development manager and ask, hey, what programs does Cambridge Network have? And hopefully your student development manager is also telling you about these programs before you even need to ask. But we do have this year a student leadership cohort. We have a student council, and specifically in the leadership cohort, there's a lot of mentorship opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity to meet other students who are international students in the US. And along with that, there's going to be volunteer opportunities too through that leadership cohort. We also have mentorship services at Cambridge Network specifically just for mentoring. So if you're not finding these opportunities at your school, come to Cambridge Network and we've got loads of services as well.
Awesome. As always, leading the charge in terms of helping our students acclimatize and get ready for the school year that's ahead. Leanna, I love this idea because I think, and this topic, because I think it's so prevalent. We see it every single year. We see students struggle with this. And often those struggles that they have with not being able to acclimatize and not getting into the community spill over into my academics are not going that well. I feel really homesick. Maybe there's some, physical health obstacles that I face because of this idea of isolation. So we can't emphasize it enough. I think it's such a valuable podcast episode, but such a valuable article. We'll get our executive producer, Dean, to post it on the show notes for us. Any final thoughts from your side? Any final sort of tidbits that you want to highlight for the listeners?
Yeah, I truly feel like I could talk about this topic for another 30 minutes or longer. There's so much to be said about what getting involved and sort of your mindset can do for you as an international student. But ultimately, I just think that taking these steps involved, you're creating opportunities to make friends, you're creating your support system, and in turn, and this is important for schools to hear and for host families to hear, students are going to feel safe, they're going to feel happy, they're going to feel supported, and ultimately, this creates a really healthy mental health outlook for them. So, in all regards, getting involved is super important. And for students, there's really only one way to combat the overwhelm you might be feeling at the beginning of the school year, or the scary thoughts that might be going through your head about, oh, maybe my language skills aren't good enough, or maybe I don't have the skills to get involved in a certain thing. There's only one way to find out. There's only one way to get through that, and that's just to push yourself and to really take those first steps. It doesn't happen overnight. Be patient, give yourself grace. You can't make a whole group of friends in the first week, but you just have to take it step by step. And that's where I think the mindset and the forming habits really comes into place. So just, from day one, go into it saying, I'm going to push myself. I'm here to make the most of this experience. And you have a ton of support in doing that. So reach out to your student development manager, talk to your host family about it. We're here for you. It's not an easy thing that you're doing, but it's so worthwhile.
I can hear the passion you have for the students and the way in which you describe these opportunities. And I love it. I think it's so important. Leanna, thank you for your views. Thank you for your unique perspective, because we know you're involved in this every single day. To all of our listeners, we hope this has been useful. Students, agents, schools, we hope this has been an opportunity to learn and to improve your program. That's the aim of what we do here at the Cambridge Insider Podcast. As always, remember to like, listen, subscribe, and we'll catch you around the next episode of the Cambridge Insider Podcast. Bye-bye, everybody.